Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Well, Owlcat Games has been releasing a lot of content, certainly over the last few weeks, in terms of concept art and information about some of the spaceships, the weapons, the armor, and even some of the characters in this upcoming game. And so I just wanted to bring everything together in one video for everyone out there. So to start, they talked about spaceships, and I'm quoting now, "Spaceships in the Expanse are vertical like towers with decks positioned perpendicularly to the trajectory of the ship's movement. This allows them to utilize thrust-generated gravity when the ship is accelerating, which makes long space flights more comfortable for people." So this is basically what we would expect. This is what we saw in the TV show, and so they seem to be sticking with that sort of design ethic, which is great. It certainly matches to what was in the novels. Moving on, they also introduced some concept art for the two sidekicks to the captain of the ship that you are going to command in this adventure. And they also pointed out, of course, that the commander, the captain, can be male or female. But let's just talk about those two other characters right now. The first is Zafar. Yes, Zafar Hijazi. I think I pronounced that correctly. And in the description, it says, "In space, few things are as important as life support. And Zafar, a former MCRN engineer and a good friend from Pinkwater, is here to ensure that your ship is in perfect order." So you can see from the concept art that he's also rocking some pretty serious armor. And of course we've seen this armor, we've seen the character in the trailer. So it'll be interesting to see what Zafar gets up to. The other character that we saw in the trailer is Michael DeGamo, and he's described as an Earther with a military background who crossed paths with you by accident. But as long as you fight a common enemy and pursue similar goals, you will find in him a reliable ally and a friend. And again, we saw his presence in the trailer. He's got a very interesting shoulder attachment gun sort of thing. Again, you saw this in the trailer. So it'll be interesting to see what Michael gets up to. But I like the look of the armor. Again, it's going off the aesthetic of the TV show. There has been other concept armor for the different factions that are in this game. So for example, you can see here the typical armor used by a belter, and of course belters, quoting again, are the descendants of workers who built the first colonies in the asteroid belt. The resources are scarce, and sometimes they wear really old and heavily patched up vac suits. With good care though, these suits do their job, and that's all that matters. And of course we can see that belters tend to be tall because of the low gravity that they grew up in. All very exciting. Talking about MCRN, they've included some examples of MCRN armor. As you can see, some Martians dedicate their lives to terraforming the Red Planet. Others join the Navy and train hard to protect the efforts of the former. MCRN troops are formidable, effective, and look impressive in their high-tech armor. Would you put on an MCRN vac suit? Well, that's something that we're going to have to consider in this game. Now, what appear to be the enemies, perhaps, in this game are, of course, the Protogen guards. We've seen their armor. These are the people who were attacked in the trailer. And Protogen, as I'm sure some of you know, is a private company from Earth, not overly famous, but extremely well founded. They can afford the best possible equipment for their security force. Crossing paths with them definitely means trouble. And I fully expect that in this game, we are going to cross Protogen quite a lot. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you these examples of the art that's being used to create the game. It looks really exciting, and as more of this stuff is released, I'll be putting it up here on the channel. So as always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.